Hey guys, it's Mike from We Are the Batman here. Just want to let you know we have a new website you guys can go to. Just go to podpage.com/We Are the Batman. That's podpage.com/We Are the Batman. You can get all of our episodes there, get a little more information about us, and most importantly, you can leave us reviews and you can leave us comments and messages, send us questions and episode ideas, and you can even leave us voicemails. All these great tools are on the website. Head over to podpage.com/We Are the Batman. We always love to hear from you guys. Head on over there now and check it out. Hey everybody, welcome back to We Are the Batman. I'm Mike.
And this is Matthew.
We're doing a little bit of a mixed show today because we got some news we want to cover, just some stuff going on that we need to get into. I know we've done this like 3 weeks in a row. We keep having like actual news, but it keeps getting worse. So let's get into some of this stuff. Let's get this one off the bat right away because it's smaller and it's more just kind of it's a thing we can just talk about real quick. So we talked recently. I guess Zack Snyder put out some kind of cryptic tease for something coming in April.
Yes.
3 dates, and specifically in an interview with the Nerd Queens, which is being reported on by Collider. I guess Snyder confirmed they're doing something called SnyderCon, where they're going to screen all 3 of his DC films, being Man of Steel, BVS, Dawn of Justice. I'm assuming it'll be the director's cut because it's the superior version. And Zack Snyder's Justice League. They will all be shown in IMAX, and will also include Q&A sessions with the filmmaker himself, which I think is, if you're a Snyder fan, I think it's a neat idea. I think it's a cool idea. And, you know, the Snyder Cut didn't exactly get a theatrical release because it's 4 hours. And
yeah,
it's even for me, I was like, I need to pause and take a break. But if you're into his movies, if you're into his DC movies, I mean, it's a fun idea.
Yeah, this is something I thought was going to happen more often when COVID hit big. It's like you've got no movies coming out. And with the fact that, you know, most theaters don't do the reel-to-reel crap anymore. It's all digital. So, like, why not have, as much as, like, I'm not going to go.
Sure. You are not the target audience for SnyderCon.
Yeah. But, I mean, at the same time, like, why not? Like,
yeah.
You know, I'm not trying to get into bad talking, but if the 4-hour version of Justice League was my bag, I would love to watch it at IMAX. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure.
I mean, look, I didn't like Avatar, but I went and saw it a second time in IMAX 3D because it was amazing in IMAX 3D. So to experience that scope of a film, oh yeah. You know, I would definitely, like, if MCU finally one day was like, you know what, we're bored, we're going to put Endgame out in IMAX again, I would go see it in IMAX.
100%.
If for some reason somebody got a wild hair up their butt and you're saying, you know what, Bruce Lee is really awesome, we're going to release Enter the Dragon and make it 3D and put it in IMAX, I'm going to be there for all the showings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
I, as somebody who is a Snyder fan, I enjoyed his movies, and I mean, I got to see The Batman in IMAX, and that was incredible. And so to see something on the scale of a BVS, you know, director's cut or Man of Steel or the Snyder Cut, which are, I mean, they are big movies. They are very big scale movies. Yeah, to see them in a big IMAX screen with a room full of people who I know are already going to be fans, so the excitement's going to be high. Zack Snyder's there. He's going to do a Q&A. Like, that's like, if like it's a Comic-Con level event. Like, I get excited for this the same way I would about maybe going to Comic-Con. Like, yeah, it's going to be fun if you're into this. If you're not into it, don't go.
Yeah. Well, it's
cool.
They made his cut. They released it. I wasn't sure they ever would, and then it did very well. Like, again, this is what I call pizza delivery situation. Mm-hmm. Like, if you bring me a pizza, I'm going to eat it. If I want pizza, if I, you know, because pizza's delicious. So, like, whatever that fandom is, there's obviously, through several arguments through Twitter that I've had, people love these films. So yes, put them out there. And, like, look, I'm trying to think. I think I saw BVS in IMAX. I don't think I saw Man of Steel in IMAX.
Mhm.
But yeah, go have fun dude. It's always cool if you're a fan of somebody to do a Q&A with someone.
Yeah.
And like I would dare say, like I'm honestly surprised they have not released Snyder's director's cut somewhere in theaters for like a limited screening.
I'm sure there's logistical reasons for that. I'm sure that's more of a contract issue than anything else, but
Which I'm sure this may be. I would not be surprised if this thing is him announcing his next thing in DC.
I'm still not, and I say this as a Snyder fan, I'm still not sure where he's going to be back for DC, especially because like, and this wasn't on the docket for today, but like Ben Affleck coming out and saying like I'm not doing anything with James Gunn. Like, I guess they had talked about it, and he just kind of ultimately decided like I'm good. He had a miserable experience on Joss Whedon's Justice League, which it seems like everybody had it when Joss Whedon got involved, had a miserable experience and didn't want to come back. And I think Ben is honestly kind of at a point where he's like, I think it's just time
I
to move.
mean, dude, you watch those interviews of him after BVS, and he was done then, and they hadn't even started shooting Justice
Well,
League.
because he got such people reacted so viciously when he got cast as Batman. I mean, the internet went after him. And here's a guy who's been a Batman. Think about this. This is a guy who's been a Batman fan his entire life, who had like a bat cave built in his house. Dude loves Batman. And for to get to be Batman and have people turn on you like that, imagine the mood, just the bad mood that's going to put you in.
Yeah, no, and I get it. That's what I'm saying. Like I think he got dealt all the wrong cards, and I feel bad for him, as
Yeah,
did Cavill in the
all of
entire
them.
situation. So
Yeah. So that's
anyway,
that. So SnyderCon's coming in April. That's cool. I'm assuming it's going to be both streaming and live to some extent. We'll learn more as I'm sure as the weeks go by. But so that's that. So over this past week, Shazam: Fury of the Gods hit theaters. Matt has not had a chance to see it yet. I went and saw it opening weekend, so I'm just going to do a brief review of this. I'm not going to go into spoilers because Matt hasn't seen it. I'll just give you guys kind of my
it's
general
fine.
thoughts.
It's fine.
I know, I don't like being that guy. Ultimately, what I'll say about the movie is this: um, if you like the first one, you're going to like this one. If you love the first one, you're going to love this one. If you are not on board with the first one, you're not going to have a good time. I think the movie is a lot of fun. I laughed at every joke. It was very much both a literal and spiritual sequel to its predecessor. The metaphor that I gave Matt over text was if you think about the kind of not over the top campiness that like Batman Brave and the Bold had, the animated show. It's that, but live action and focused on Shazam. Like it's just campy enough, but not so campy that it's off-putting or that it takes you out of anything. It's Shazam. His nickname has always been the Big Red Cheese for a
Yeah,
reason. It's cheesy, but it's just cheesy enough. I think the special effects in this are incredible. I think that the villains were very well cast. Helen Mirren crushed. Like when they told me that Helen Mirren was going to be the bad guy in Shazam 2, I was like, oh, she's going to show up. And it's Helen Mirren. She's amazing. But I was like, she's going to show up, cash a paycheck, and go home. She tried. She put forth some effort with this. I was genuinely impressed. I had a very good time with this movie. I actually am looking forward to seeing it again. And while it does manage to keep itself separated enough from everything, much like the first one did, I can see how there are things that are set up in this movie that I can totally see coming into play in the event that Shazam sticks around after the Flash resets everything. Because Gunn has said that is a possibility because of how separated Shazam has been. It makes it really easy to kind of fold him into everything post reset. There are some things that happen in this movie where I'm like, that could potentially lead to something, but it's also not a committal so that if it doesn't, we can just kind of forget about it. I do have a couple of small qualms with the movie. I think the Wonder Woman cameo which has been it's in all the trailers now because somebody
Yeah.
screwed up. Basically, the marketing team screwed up and they had to say, well, shit, now everybody knows. Wonder Woman's in the movie, guys. Briefly, it's not a bit, it's she's got maybe 5 minutes of screen time at most. That's being generous, if I'm being honestly. But it's completely wasted. The ending, the second half of this movie is excellent. The first half of this movie is good at best.
Gotcha.
But I think it's a good movie overall. I think it's a fun movie. I think if you go see this, you will have a good time as long as you're into this kind of humor and slightly tongue-in-cheek writing that kind of goes hand in hand with Shazam. So I say if you're even remotely curious, go see it. You might have a good time. Which
And
then
save Zachary Levi's job because
well, that takes us into our next actual story, which is this movie is bombing at the box office.
yes.
It has an estimated budget of between 110 and 125 million. As of this recording, it has made 68.8 million dollars at the box
And
office.
made 35 the opening weekend, which is nearly what 40% less than the first one did
Mhm.
opening weekend.
Yeah. Let me pull up the first movie here. The first movie,
Did like 53. This one did 38, something like that.
yeah. The first movie had a budget of 100 million and it made 366 million. So the first movie turned a nice profit.
Yes.
Box office wise, it grossed blah 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 blah. Holy crap, where's the number? It was projected opening weekend to gross 40 to 50 million. What? Just give me the numbers. Jeez. The film grossed a total of 20.4 million its first day, including Thursday previews. It went to debut at 53.5 million, finishing first at the box office. The second weekend, it made 24.5 million. So this movie in its opening weekend made about the same that the first one made in its second weekend. Now there's a lot of different factors that can go into this here, and that's kind of what the rest of this news discussion topic, whatever you call it's going to be about. So the first one came out in 2019. The world was still very much, paint by numbers back then.
Yeah.
This is a post-COVID film release. Post-COVID film releases, regardless of the state of COVID, the pandemic, whatever. This is a post-COVID film release. Movie theaters have not bounced back from the pandemic at all. Movies in general are struggling. Movie theaters in general are struggling to get people to get butts in seats since the pandemic. So there's that. That's out of the way. We have a couple other factors here. And the beginning, middle, and end of those problems are Zachary Levi and The Rock.
Yes.
And Black Adam. So
And everything and all things.
And all things. I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot. So everybody knows that we've talked about before. The Flash is going to reset DC. James Gunn has said that. It's been confirmed. So ultimately, like we've already talked about on this episode, there's the potential for this movie to not really mean a damn thing.
Correct.
And the last time we had a superhero franchise movie that didn't mean anything was Black Widow at the MCU. It didn't mean anything. Her character had already been killed off. The movie was good, regardless of how good the movie was. Didn't do super well box office wise because everybody was just kind of like, who cares? I'll see it when I see it. It doesn't really.
It didn't even get released box office. It got released Disney Plus.
Right, but so it didn't get bought. But it just
was it simultaneous?
It had simultaneous release, but it also just didn't have a lot of high viewership. It got good reviews, but people weren't rushing to watch it because they were just like, who cares?
Yeah.
So there's that. There's also the fact that, Black Adam in no way, shape, or form set up for this movie. And the reports are currently that this is coming from the Wrap. The reports are that originally, the post-credit scene for Black Adam was supposed to involve Shazam, and The Rock used his star power to kibosh that because he wanted the focus to be on Black Adam and Superman. We all saw how that worked out. But it just kind of it goes to and I talked about this on another channel, which is this is now Shazam Fury of the Gods is the third movie in this kind of Shazam corner of the DC movies with Shazam, Black Adam, and Shazam 2. how are they not connected to each other? The fact that we have Black Adam has a solo movie and neither the Shazam films nor Black Adam reference each other. Like Shazam 2 is very much a direct sequel to Shazam 1, don't get me wrong. And it
Yeah.
works that way. But the fact that there was not a post-credit scene, didn't have to be in the goddamn movie, just a post-credit scene of something involving Shazam. If we're gonna have Amanda Waller getting in on Black Adam and saying, I'm keeping an eye on you, why would she then not? Why would we then not have a scene of her saying, like, we're gonna need to fight fire with fire and cut to Shazam, eating a chili dog or something like that. Like just something like that. It doesn't have to be them meeting, just something saying we need to, because when you watch Shazam, even the first one, when it's all the family sitting in the multiple thrones inside the Rock of Eternity, there's one chair empty that's supposed to be for Black Adam. It's supposed to be all these members of the team. He's not there because he's Black Adam. He's off doing his own thing. Now I can hear I can already hear people screaming at me through the internet. There are things in the post credits of this movie that finally start to try and fold Shazam into the greater DC universe at large as it stands.
Okay.
None of it involves Black Adam. And to me, Dwayne Johnson swinging his dick, saying we're going to do things this way, no other way, ultimately is detrimental to how these movies get folded into each other. It's like shit like this is why James Gunn is coming in and resetting everything. Like the
Correct.
fact that it's this disconnected. This would be like having, because like even the Joker movie, while the Joker movie is not a Batman movie and Batman does not appear, Bruce Wayne appears. The Wayne's murder occurs in this movie. So we know that it is in some way, shape, or form connected to the Batman story, because of course it is, it's the Joker.
Yeah.
The fact that the Black Adam movie is completely disconnected by every stretch of the imagination from two Shazam movies, just because the lead actor wanted it to be that way, is asinine.
Correct.
It makes no sense.
It makes sense when you think The Rock is going to save your thing, and that because ultimately this is like it's not like The Rock could just walk in and say this is what I'm doing and people say yes. You have executives that are going like, no, I think he's right. Like somebody had to back his play, and that somebody had to be above everybody, and that's where like you just it is completely and totally insane that this was allowed to happen, and speaks volumes of The Rock's hubris, to be honest with you, that you would not be a villain. Or like, look, we could argue all day whether Black Adam should have been the villain in the first one, or definitely should have been the villain in the second one, as far as the
definitely
Shazam
should have been
movies.
the villain in this one.
But you just get to this point where it's like, look, most people don't even know who these characters are. So if you make a great movie, nobody cares. Look, we didn't know who the Guardians of the Galaxy are. The Guardians of the Galaxy in the comics are zero like what they are in the movie. But the movie is so great, we don't care. And I hate doing the Marvel versus DC thing, but whatever. My point
It's not Marvel DC. It's comparing two versions of the same business model.
Yeah.
They're both approaching a connected universe of movies based on their comic book properties. One's doing it better than the other.
Well, and you're talking about a comic book property that nobody knows about. Like, look,
Yeah.
the Guardians of the Galaxy had been in 2 episodes of Ultimate Spider-Man.
And that was only because they knew the movie was coming and
Yeah.
they were like, we've got to start planting seeds in people's heads.
And they were in an episode of the Avengers cartoon that was happening at the time. But even then, the version of those characters that are in those 2 things are based on the comics and not the movies. So the fact that Black Adam had been in several cartoons as well, you're talking about 2 different comic properties that have the same amount of awareness in the world, and somehow one worked really well and one did not. So that's where, like, you make a great movie, no one's going to care if it's not comic book accurate. If you don't make a great movie, they're going to come at you. And especially if you're, like you're saying, like, Black Adam is so linked to Shazam for most of his publication
He
history.
literally has to say Shazam to become Black Adam. It's
Yeah.
in the
Yeah. So it is ridiculous and insane. And it's like, but I will say this. Do I think that's why this movie wasn't successful?
no.
No.
No,
No.
there are far too many reasons why this movie wasn't successful, none of which I personally think are the quality of the movie. Again, I genuinely think the movie is a lot of fun. I do not think it's the greatest comic movie I've ever seen in my life. It is a fun movie. If you want something that is just fun and a little bit campy,
Yeah.
this is your movie. Like this is the movie for you. You know, to me, this is on par with like the 2005 Constantine movie with Keanu Reeves. Is it the greatest comic book movie ever? No. Do I enjoy the shit out of every time I watch it? Absolutely. And I look
Yes.
forward to watching it.
Bro, I'll die on the hill that The Shadow is one of the best comic book movies of all time, but that's just because I'm ridiculous.
That movie rules. That movie rules.
Yes.
Fight me. That movie is
Yes.
awesome. Is it batshit? Of course. Is it? Do I get excited to watch it? Yeah.
Dude.
League of Extraordinary. This movie is not League of Extraordinary. League of Extraordinary Gentlemen is an objectively bad movie, but it is so much fun to watch. I don't care.
I beg to differ. That movie's great. I don't know what people's problem is, but no.
But anyway, well, there's another fact we haven't even talked about either, which is that in the last like year, Zachary Levi's people's love for Zachary Levi has waned, because in the time since the pandemic started and in the last few years, he's put his foot in his mouth quite a few times, and people were kind of like, screw you.
Did he though? No, I'm just kidding.
I don't want to get into all of it. Some of it was like COVID vaccine related. Some of it was social and politics stuff related. I'm not here to get into all that, but just regardless of how you feel about what he said was off-putting to a large number of people. Yeah. So a lot of people I know personally said, we're not going to go see this movie. We have problems with Zach Levi. I mean, I can't argue against that. If it's the same reason why I'm not going to see the Dungeons and Dragons movie. I have issues with how Hasbro handled, and that you can tell me they rescinded till you're blue in the face. I don't care. I don't like the way Hasbro was handling things. I'm not going to go watch the movie. I have problems with how Paramount has handled Star Trek in the prior to Discovery coming out. That's why I haven't watched Discovery or Picard or any of that, because I refuse to pay for Paramount Plus, because screw Paramount. So people have their own personal reasons for not wanting to go see stuff as well. And it just kind of makes me think there was too many things working against this movie for it. Like, I don't think it was ever going to be a huge box office success unless it was just mind-blowingly good. But for it to be a B average movie and to have this many things working against it, it sucks, because it's financially it's a loss. DC has had 2 movies come out in the last 6 months, neither of which are going to be profitable, because Black Adam barely broke even. Yeah. And this is a loss.
Well, and you also have to think about like this is where, take it or leave it, but when did the last good comic book movie come out?
See, that's subjective, because I loved Multiverse of Madness.
I mean, like, there's like, you got like 3 or 4 in a row. Like, we both liked Ant-Man and Wasp. Apparently, we're idiots because nobody else seemed to.
Oh, the new one? Yeah, people, what the hell? Yeah. It's a good movie. Fight me.
So you got Black Adam, which people pretty much hated. You have Ant-Man and Wasp, was just divisive at best. Yeah. And Shazam comes out. You've got the things you're talking about. And like, I'll put this out there. Like, really honestly, yeah, I don't feel like the first movie was a family movie. It was a fun movie, but I don't think it was a family movie. I think it was like a PG-13 at minimum.
Oh yeah, I don't think these movies are as family friendly as Zach Levi keeps saying they are. That's another. He keeps saying these are family films. They're not family films.
And that's where, like, for me personally, like, look, sometimes I'll make my son go see a movie, but the other movie,
you sit there and watch Schindler's List like a good boy.
Hey, history's important.
I love Schindler's List. I make him watch movies. You will sit there and watch The Room.
Yeah. This movie is called Strippers.
You will
Striptease.
watch striptease with your father. No, don't do that. But
You
anyway.
remember Saved by the Bell? Let's ruin it.
Anyway,
What is that called? That's not
you will watch
Striptease.
Rent with me.
What was that movie with her? What the heck was that called? Not Striptease.
Yeah, it was striptease. No, Showgirls.
Showgirls. Yeah.
Showgirls. One of the two stripper movies that came out within like a year of each other.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's the thing is like, I'm not, he doesn't want to see it because he didn't particularly
Yeah.
care for the first one. So that means I'm not going to go see it. I'm going to wait for HBO Max.
Yeah.
So I think you've got a movie that the first time kind of fooled us, in my opinion. And I'm not speaking for everybody, but if like my thing is there's a certain level of film I'm going to consider a family film, and this is not one of them. And I am a father of 2 kids that are below the age I think is appropriate to watch this movie.
Yeah.
So, and then my wife doesn't really care. And
Yeah.
since I don't, it's like, we're not going to go see it. We'll wait for it to hit HBO Max and I'll probably watch it one afternoon.
Yeah.
But also, so you've got that, in my opinion. You've got like James Gunn not solidly saying this, that Zach Levi is going to continue being in the DC universe after this Flash reboot. And I'm going to say we're a week away from finding out he's done.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunately or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, if they didn't let The Rock continue,
yeah,
this movie's doing worse than Black Adam. I'm pretty sure we're a week out from him being done.
Yeah. If we don't hear from it by the end of this thing's theatrical run, when they come out with more information after the Flash, we'll know for sure. And it's a bummer to me because like my feelings on Zach Levi aside, he's got such a lock on the character of Shazam. Like regardless of how you feel about him, dude knows how to play Shazam.
I think he's a great Shazam. I don't think
Yeah.
he matches the Billy Batson. I think Billy Batson is too angsty and teenagery for Zachary Levi to be playing Shazam the way he does.
Now I will
It's like,
here's what
it's
I'll
like-
say because you haven't seen the movie. I
Okay.
feel like they greatly improved on that with this one.
Okay. Because that was my big thing with the last one. I was like, this doesn't feel the same.
It goes into both the things I liked and my criticisms about the movie, which is that stuff, like the family stuff and Billy Batson's struggle and all that, I really enjoyed in this movie. I wish there was more of it.
Yeah.
But that's without getting into spoilers. It was like what they had the kid Asher Angel playing young Billy in this. I usually have to force myself to be nice about kid actors. All the kid actors in this movie were excellent.
Yeah.
They just weren't in the movie a lot. And I thought Zach Levi had a better grasp on that more insecure side of Billy Batson in this movie than we did in the first one, because the first one was just trying to be just fun and lighthearted.
Yeah.
This one has some more real issues that would come up in that life, and I think they handle them very well. But they also had I just needed more of it. So with that being said, that's why I say like I really feel like he has got such a lock on this character now, and I don't know if we're gonna see him back again. For all the reasons you just said, we've
yeah, I'm really thinking we're about a week away from them saying he's not continuing, which is sad because, yeah, I like him. The issue, like, not to get into it, but I don't have an issue with the things he's done.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't have an issue with anything anybody's done. Like,
no.
I don't buy into that. I hate this person, so I'm not going to go see their movie. I'm going to see the movie if I want to see it, and I'm not going to see it if I don't want to see it. Like,
right.
I don't get into that. Like, unless it's just like, look, Kevin Spacey aside, most actors, they're not, I don't care. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. When you're pulling Kevin Spacey shit, then we can talk.
Yeah, that's a monster.
That's different. That's
different political views. No.
Yeah.
Like, not to go off on too much of a tangent, but like, do I have a problem with the things Gina Carano was saying? No. Did she ignore the writing on the wall? Yes. Like, lady, you had enough people telling you like you should really stop, and you didn't. You fired yourself.
Yeah, but that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
Ultimately, how this is going to play out, I mean, it doesn't look good, and it seems like it seems like there was just stuff going on behind the scenes with Dwayne Johnson that were causing problems, and now the movie's out, and they had, and it kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier. So I'm really curious because there are things in this movie that be chapter one is called, they're calling it chapter one, Gods and Monsters. There are things that play out in this movie that I'm like I said, that could really, they could be using that as a way to set up. It would be a bummer if they were to retcon this whole movie because, like I said, they don't commit to anything, but they've got these great, a pretty solid groundwork laid for for a Gods and Monsters story arc.
Yeah.
With this one, so I'll be curious to see how this plays out because
Well,
it's too early to say for sure because crazier things have happened.
well, and you also get, once you get into multiverse stuff, like there's nothing that says you can't say the new Shazam did these same things that
Yeah.
you witness in the story. You know, like is Supergirl gonna be the super character in the entirety of chapter one? We know that there's a Superman movie, but it could be that she takes his place for, because there's like what, a 2 year gap between Flash and the next Superman movie.
Yes. Yeah. 2025.
So
Yeah.
you can't tell me she might not be running around doing other Supermanish type of things in
Mhm.
various movies and TV shows until that point. So that's where you just don't know. So they could
Yeah.
recast Shazam and then be like, "Oh, yes, remember when you did this in this timeline?" This, yeah. Uh, but yeah, it
Well, also with that, like recasting Shazam isn't going to fix the problem because the problem, for the most part, wasn't really Zachary Levi.
correct.
It was everything going on. It's not like Wonder Woman 1984, where the problem with that movie was the script. It was
Yeah,
like the studios were going to blame COVID. The problem with that movie was it was poorly written. You know, whereas
it's a
with
crappy
this,
movie.
it was a bad movie, guys. Whereas with this one, it's more, it was a pretty good movie, but man, it had everything and everyone working against it. Um, so it's gonna be, a curious thing to see. Again, it's a bummer because I really did. I knew Matt. I knew you were on the fence about this one to begin with, and I was, I wouldn't have recommended it to you if I didn't think you would genuinely like it. I
Yeah.
genuinely think that this is a fun, good movie that is, it's just, it's a fun watch. I had so much fun. I cannot stress that enough. I had so much fun watching this movie. I laughed so hard so many times, but it also wasn't like a situation where I felt like it was trying too hard to be funny. It was like it was the right balance. There's some genuinely heartfelt moments in it. And I'm like, if the first act was, and the first act is good, the first half is good, but it could have been great because the second half is awesome. The second half of this movie rules. Um,
Nice.
so it's a bummer. I'm genuinely bummed out that this movie isn't doing well and probably spells the end for this little pocket of DC films. Um,
Well, according to reports, it's going to drop on HBO Max really quick. So in about 3 or 4 weeks, I'll let you guys know what I
yeah,
think of it.
sounds to me like they're going to go ahead and hard push this thing to HBO Max, which on the one hand is to me going like, well, shit. It means they're pulling it from theaters, and that bums me out. But also, I'm also a little excited because I'm like, oh, cool, I get to watch it again.
Yeah.
It's like I'm looking forward to this being on HBO Max because I really want to watch it again.
Yeah.
Um, you know, so yeah, it's a weird time to be a DC fan, Matt.
Well, and I think we said it too, is like when you go out and say we're rebooting and you have 3 more movies coming out, maybe you
Yeah,
should have said we're going, like maybe you should have just kept that under lock and key. I don't know. Like I
yeah,
you know, I think you
I
do
understand
that
both
to
sides
get
of
rid,
it.
I think you do it to get rid of Black Adam. That's what I really think, is they were like, no, this movie was stupid. This guy sucks. Fuck this dude.
I
Fuck that.
I think if Black Adam had been, I think if Black Adam had landed better, I think we would have. it would have been longer before we heard
Yes.
from James Gunn. I think he would have just pushed what was coming, but because Black Adam crashed and burned like it did, and I'm not saying that as a comment on the quality of the film, it didn't do well at the box office. I also just didn't like it, but the numbers don't lie. It didn't make them any money, and
Yeah.
this is a company right now that needs a win because they're struggling financially. Warner Brothers had to push a lot of movies around because they just did not have the budget to put out a lot of big releases. And so far, the couple of big releases they've done haven't made money.
Yeah. Well, and the fact that like you really think about too is like take it or leave it, the MCU is never not having something going on. Like this
Yeah.
is the longest amount of time we've had between a movie and there's nothing on Disney Plus happening.
Yeah.
You know, all the past 2 years, if there hasn't been a movie out, there's been something on Disney Plus.
Yeah. And
Consistently.
a lot of that was COVID. Like a lot of that was COVID, understandably so. But even Marvel has come out and said, like, we're gonna.
Yeah, they're slowing down, but I'm saying more
Yeah.
about like all we have to go on with the DC is bad movies and James Gunn saying things that are going to happen.
The best thing DC has put, the two best things that DC has put out in the last 3 years are a super director's cut and a Batman movie that's not connected to anything.
I would say a Batman movie without connected to anything and Peacemaker are the two best.
And Peacemaker. I don't know why I keep forgetting about Peacemaker. I think it's
It's
because
so-
there's just so much stuff that I've had to watch in the last few years. like the amount of content I have ingested is kind of overwhelming. And I say that right now, knowing that Wednesdays at the moment are the best day in the world because I get new Ted Lasso and The Mandalorian.
which I need to watch.
Yeah, you do. Oh yeah, you do. Both, honestly. Ted Lasso is incredible.
Tonight, I'll be watching Mandalorian tonight.
Do it. Especially this week's episode was nuts. It was banana sandwich. Not this podcast, though. It's not the podcast we're doing. So that's where we're sitting right now in the world of DC. Like I said, it's a tough time to be a DC fan because even as much of an apologist as I am, one other thing I'll say about the Shazam movie. So Jaimin Hansu is back as the Wizard Shazam.
Mm-hmm.
There's a thing that happens at the end that it's purely an Easter egg for sweaty fans. That kind of harkens back to another comic book property Jaimin Hansu is in, and I'm really curious if you're gonna notice it or not.
Nice.
Okay. I don't know if you will. I think maybe only I did, and maybe I'm reading too much into it, but it was a little part of me that was kind of like, hey, now. I think I see where that's going. I don't think they're setting up for anything. I think it was purely just for fan service, but I appreciated it.
Nice.
So, yeah, guys, that's what's going on right now in the world of DC film and TV. It's a lot. We'd love to know your thoughts. We really would love to know your thoughts, what you guys think. So please head on over to our website, podpage.com/wearethebatman, podpage.com/wearethebatman. You guys can leave us messages. You can leave us voicemails. You can let us know what's going on. You can, Matt, where else can they find us?
You can find us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/group/fanboyjunction with a K. And you can hit me on Twitter at Mr. J Ninja.
You can find me on Twitter at Mr. Mike Shea. Find the show on Twitter at We Are the Batman. We'll see you guys again here next time for another episode of We Are the Batman. Same bat time, same bat podcast channel.
Bye-bye.